right, welcome to another episode of Two Fight Fans. We talk about all things in combat sports. I'm one fight fan, Colin,
And I'm the other Stuart.
and we didn't have a fight this past weekend. So,
Nah.
yeah,
Nah.
that's nice, right?
Yeah, and we've got no fight coming up this weekend, except for Friday.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, there is an Apex card they're taking on the road. It turns out everything is Apex slop in the UFC era. So we won't be talking about that. We won't be talking about the Derek Lewis headliner. That won't be happening.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's that. So
Yeah.
episode over, right?
Yeah, this has been Two Fight Fans. No, I do have a question for you because we kind of alluded to it last time. We talked about Topuria, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Really quickly, what do you think is more entertaining? Okay, but let me backtrack a little bit. They always say styles make matchups, right?
They always say that. All of them.
Yeah.
Whoever they are.
What do you think that means?
What do I think that means? Well,
that's not my main question, but I'd like to be on the same page to start off here.
Yeah, okay. Let's do two quick tangents here. One is that uneducated fight fans who don't know anything think it means that polar opposite fights or fighters make entertaining fights, i.e., a grappler versus a striker, a Muay Thai specialist versus a boxer. Like these things inherently make better fights. Which is not true. The other is that the stylistic matchup between two people can make a more entertaining fight, i.e., like, let's say, for example, Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, two strikers. 9 times out of 10, that makes a bad fight. Two grapplers trying to fight as strikers, that's a bad matchup, and you have a shitty kickboxing match. But sometimes you get Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington, where it's very exciting. So it means that the skill level and stylistic matchup can lead to a more engaging fight than just simply two fighters of the same level. Is that right? Did I nail it? Did I get an A out of Yeah, I was gonna say A out of 10. Yeah. Did I get an A out of A? A 10 out of 10? Did I pass the test?
Yeah, so I think so. We talked about this before. How MMA, there's so many facets to it. So having a basic, just kind of description of styles of like a stand-up versus a grappler, I think doesn't make as much sense because there's so many things. Like you could say like you have two really dynamic grapplers, but then it just turns into a shitty kickboxing match because neither of them want to go to the ground.
Yeah.
But in like boxing, there's some really like obvious ones. Like you have like the classic, counterpuncher, outboxer, like a fighter. One person wants to get close and turn into like just a slugging match, while the other one wants to use outside. It's like a classic description of styles make matchups there.
Right, and like the negative version of that is Ian Machado Gary against MVP. Two strikers that like to stay on the outside and don't like to feel uncomfortable, so then neither one of them engages at all during their fight. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're at least part way there, right?
Yes. That was just kind of preamble to my my overall question / discussion for you here, because
that was just the French tickler. That's just the beginning.
That was just a foreplay here. So what I really wanted to ask you was, what do you think? I feel like there's two main ways that people or fighters approach fights. Either from a strategy and tactics standpoint, you either A, try to impose your game plan on the other fighter. You try to impose them, make them deal with it. Or B, you try to neutralize their game plan to like stuff that, or actually make them ineffective off later on with some of your strengths or whatever, or counter them that way. Is that a very generalization of like two approaches to a fight from a strategy or tactic standpoint?
Yeah, I think yes, right, because the first version you posited was, I'm going to impose my game plan the most easy way to understand this would be Khabib Nurmagomedov being like,
Yes.
"We're gonna grapple," right? I'm
Yeah.
not even worried about taking away or striking. I'm just worried about getting you to the ground.
Mhm.
And then the other one would be removing your ability to do certain things. So it would be like Robbie Lawler defending the takedown on anyone he fought very
Right.
aggressively, forcing them to fight in a stand-up,
Yes.
right? Like, he first has to negate the ground game before he can get his game rolling, whereas
Yes.
Khabib could sort of proactively just push his game. So, yeah, I agree on that basic yeah,
Okay.
mhm, 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 mhm.
So my question to you was, which one is more impressive to you? An ability to just impose your game basically on
Mm.
anyone else that you are fighting to dictate the pace of the match, or to neutralize basically anyone else's game plan, and then to be able to counter that with a new strategy. I feel like both of them are uh, at the highest level, very skillful ways to handle a fight, but require different skill sets and different approaches. Some
Yeah.
favorite fighters have taken those two different approaches.
Mhm, mhm. So I would say probably 9 times out of 10, the taking away of a opponent's A game is more impressive. By which I mean defense to me is always more impressive than offense.
Okay.
Having blazing offense is really cool, especially in MMA. In boxing or other like specific combat sports, it is impressive too, but you often need more defense in order to get your offense going.
Mhm.
Whereas in MMA, some people can get away with just having offense and no defense to speak of. Think of Conor McGregor. Think of Khabib Nurmagomedov. Think of a lot of fighters, right, where they just don't have any defense. So if you're able to impose your game like that, it is very impressive. But the ability to take it away from people, I think that was one of the really impressive things about George St. Pierre is he was able
Yes.
to impose his wrestling on people while removing their ability to wrestle him and negating a lot of their striking. So he was able to defensively fight the grappling and fight the striking while imposing the grappling on people. People that just do because I mean, what do we think about when we see people that are like young up and comers? It's hey, they're really able to impose a really impressive A game on their
Yeah.
opponents. It's very rare like, "Oh, look how good their defense is about negating something." So, I think the ability to negate is more impressive than the ability to just impose your right? Because like, you can be just like an absolute hoss and be like, "I'm gonna take you down and take people down." But what happens when you can't take someone down? Can you negate their striking? Right?
Mhm.
That's the simplest way I can think about it. I think
So
denying another human the ability to do what they want, it's pretty baller. It's pretty baller.
so
Um,
let's think of some good examples of this. So you've already pointed out like Khabib was a great example of someone imposing their will. I think in
mhm,
today's modern like in today's sport, I think another person who does that really well is Marab.
mhm.
You know, I think that I, who else has been really good in recent history of just imposing their will upon someone else and making them basically always respond to them and basically be reactionary to the fight. And whenever you're reactionary, it's very hard to get ahead.
Yeah, are you talking about, like, somebody who is primarily straight offense rather than defense, like, straight imposing rather than removing?
Yes, yes. Like just to give the few people who listen to this just some context and some actual real world examples of this. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
Khabib was one of them. I think Marab is another one right now. I
Mhm.
think um I think Topuria is to an extent because he has this aura around him that people are so afraid to strike with
Uh,
him. So that's like
no.
another one where he's kind of like forcing it that way.
I'll push back on that. I think he takes
Okay.
away I
Okay,
think
okay.
he took away Charles' ability to really attack from the ground. Max and Volk are both stand-up strikers, and he took away a lot of their movement and footwork that they'd be
Mm,
able to
okay.
use. I think Khabib is a better one. Um, I mean, GSP was very good at imposing, but He also took things away. I think you gotta kinda
He was
go a little bit further.
fluid. So I
Yeah,
think
you get
she kind of into a new realm of being able to do both. It's kind of
yeah,
like there are a handful of fighters who, when the time it's necessary to impose their will against a certain fighter, they do that. But then there are
yeah,
times where it's like, okay, you're really strong at this, I'm neutralizing that, but you've got nothing else. And because I have other skill sets like striking, I'm going to neutralize your takedowns, and then you can't stand with me. And
yeah,
GSP did that a lot too.
yeah. I think, like, for, like, imposing, I would say Khabib is a big one. I would say a lot of the, like, in the heyday of light heavyweight, you Chuck Liddell, Rampage Jackson, Wanderlei Silva,
Mm,
like, they were big imposing, like, "I'm just gonna do my A game, and it's so overwhelming, it's going to crush you." Um, I think that was Dominic Cruz to a lesser extent, Jose Aldo to a lesser extent,
yep.
like, they both had good defense, but, like, their A game was so phenomenal that it was very rare that anyone put them into, "Hey, you need to go to your B game or your C game."
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think Khabib is probably the one that I would think of most, but, like, I'm thinking of Chuck Liddell, Rampage Jackson, Wanderlei Silva, that kind of era of light heavyweight as well, of people being like, "I'm just gonna do my A game, and it's so dominant, it'll crush anyone else in the division." So, yeah, I
Okay.
think that's probably Matt Hughes also to a lesser extent with his
Yeah.
wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think kind of we're getting into, like, kind of older because it's become harder and harder. That's why Khabib is so impressive. It's become
Right.
harder and harder to do that, the closer to the year of our Lord 2025 we get. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then, who are some examples of taking away someone's strong points,
I
someone's A
think
game?
Yeah, I think GSP was phenomenal at that,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Like, I
Agreed.
think he was really, really good at that. Um, it's to I would say Alexander Volkanovski and Ilya Topuria as, like, the other
Okay.
2,
Okay.
right? Because like, Alexander Volkanovski never was like, "Oh, man, I'm really gonna wrestle you." You know, he didn't do the thing like what we thought of in, like, classic MMA era where it was like, "Oh, you're gonna grapple the striker and strike the grappler," but he would when he fought a striker, he would just nullify all of their striking and grapple them, and when he fought a grappler, he would nullify all of their grappling and strike them. So, like, I think him and I think Topuria has only fought primarily strikers,
Mhm.
and then Charles Oliveira is a grappler, but, like, he still is very much a striker grappler,
Yes. Yeah.
a submission, but, like, he takes away so much of your ability to do stuff, right? Like, he took away Volk's ability to feint and circle. He took away Max's ability to, like, combination punch, right? Like, he did all of that. But I think the most would be GSP because GSP would out grappled Koscheck, outstrike John Fitch, out grapple and strike BJ Penn. Like, he would be all over the place. Like, when his last fight against Michael Bisping, we're like, oh man, GSP's gonna take down Michael Bisping a shit ton. And instead he just outstruck him. He just, like, made it impossible for Michael Bisping really to get off in the striking. Um, like, he would remove all of your techniques overall,
Yeah.
whether it was striking or grappling. So yeah, I'd say GSP.
Okay.
I'd stand GSP. Yeah.
All right. I
What about you?
yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you with GSP. I think to some extent, Anderson Silva a little bit, even though like because his whole game was counter striking, so it meant you
Mhm.
like, hey, you gotta come in and do this, and can you get past my ability to just like dodge
But
and
he
weave, and also like because that is imposing his game somewhat,
yeah.
but also it was like the people who try to like I think about when Damian Maya tried to like grapple with him, and he was just like, no, I'm not doing any of this, like I'm not like you have to answer
Yeah,
me, and
but
he was
that
like
was kind of like I
I mean,
mean,
it was not a great display
yeah.
of that, but
Mhm.
but yeah. But like because the nature of counter striking is like you have to come press the action on me. So like, admittedly, his first many fights were against some very like limited donk strikers, but he still
Mhm.
like forced them into those kind of engages where he was
Yeah.
like fully advantage taking advantage of them.
Yeah.
But all right, let's
Well, and, like, let's also, like we have to say, like, John Jones as well.
yeah.
Like, it was a big boon when people thought Glover Teixeira would beat John Jones, and I'm like, man, if he can get John Jones into a clinch, his clinch fighting is going to be so much better than John Jones. And then John Jones specifically marched into the clinch and beat the fuck out of Glover Teixeira, right? Like
Mhm.
they thought, oh man, if Rashad Evans and John Jones are in short boxing range, it's going to be better for Rashad Evans. And John Jones didn't kick that much in that fight. He just got close and threw elbows and showed Rashad Evans like I can beat you at short range. Um, John Jones also one of the best at imposing his game while at the same time taking away your game because you didn't
Yeah.
even think he could beat you in this area of the game.
Yeah. So I
Quite
think
surprising.
there's a few people who are at the top level who can do both.
Yeah.
And I think going through some of these champions, I think we can highlight that. So like Pantoja, what do you think? Do you think he more imposes or neutralizes? Because I would
No,
argue he does both.
he does, but I think he imposes more than anything because he's so frenetic and he's so batshit insane with his attacks that it kind of neutralizes you because it kind of like it's like deer in the headlights, but it's not like he methodically takes away your ability to strike. He's just like, I'm gonna go so fucking hog wild to get your back that when I get it, then I'll choke you out. But that doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily negate the striking ability or all these right. He isn't taking away like Josh Van taking away the jab from Brandon Royval, right? Like Demetrius Johnson taking away the kicking of like Kyoji Horiguchi. Like it's not this slow, methodical over 5 rounds, making sure that you can't actually implement that technique correctly. It's just like he goes, I'm gonna go so hard at you in the first 2 minutes that you're gonna have no chance to even get any offense off.
Mhm.
I don't know how
Okay.
much of that is negating versus like a game because I feel like Pantoja is just like he goes from 0 to 100 in like half a second.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's how I feel about that.
Okay. Okay. I mean, we kind of already
I mean,
talked
do you
about.
feel differently or like?
I mean, I feel like, and this is also me not knowing Pantoja's game as well, because every time I've watched him fight, he brings out something new and something more impressive, like
But it's driven primarily by horsepower. It feels like he's
it's
got a lot of
definitely
skill and a lot of strategy, but it's like he's got he's got a fucking V8 engine behind him, right? He's
so
fucking going.
when I think about that, I think more about the bantamweight champion with Marab. With Pantoja, I feel like it's like more like it is that high paced frenetic energy, but it's
Hmm.
also calculated. Like
Yeah.
with Kai Car France, he knew I'm not going to try to just win a stand up fight with him. I'm going to try to take him take him down to the ground as quickly as possible and just control him and submit him that way because it's clear that he can't do anything to me. He poses no threat on the ground.
Hmm.
With Steve Verseg, it was kind of like back and forth. Like he was like, okay, I can win on the feet, but also like he's getting the better of me at some time, so I'm going to mix up my grappling. So it's going to keep him off balance. So he's not going to know I'm only going for takedowns. I'm also mixing up. So he's always going to be guessing, And then when he went against Kaya Sakura, it was just like, well, that was super one sided. Like actually, like and
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I
kind of the
think
same as
this
Kai
last
Car France.
yeah, his last 2 fights have shown that it's been pretty one-sided as he's gotten more and more into being, like, a professional fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. One, like, even against Steve Versick, it was never like he was methodically being like, "Well, he's doing this, so I'm gonna do that. Well, he's gonna do this, so I was gonna do that." It's like, "Well, I'm losing. Let me try my A game in grappling. Well, if that A game isn't working, let's try to go back to," it just felt like flip-flopping rather than a, like, methodical, "This part of my game will take away this other part of his game, which will then allow
Mhm.
me to open," um, which if we're gonna take this to Marab, I think Marab is the perfect example of somebody only being an imposer, never taking anything away because Marab
Yes.
always has access to his A game because he never has to ration his offense. He can always just have 100% cardio, and so his offense will always just be what it is. There's no like, I need to ration my offense. I need to think about how I'm gonna take away somebody else's ability to do offense because he's like, I can just be offense at all times because I never get tired.
Mhm.
He is the ultimate. I just impose my game on everyone.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. He's been statted 100% into offense, 0% into defense. That's exactly right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Which is crazy. It's crazy for such a deep division to
Yeah.
have basically no defense. and have no kind of like he doesn't have a championship style, which is control the fight, take things away from my opponent, make sure I really mitigate risk. He just runs headfirst into the meat grinder constantly until the meat grinder collapses because it can't the machine breaks down and Rob is left standing.
Yeah.
Uh, baffling,
I
baffling
mean,
shit.
it's a weird thing to say, like, he doesn't have, like, a championship, like game plan or strategy like so many other
Yeah.
people do,
Well,
but
neither does Pantoja. They both
Marov
just
kinda
kind of run at each other.
yeah, but, like, that is kind of his thing, is, like, you know what Marav's gonna do. You know he's just gonna come at you as soon as that bell rings, he's just gonna charge you and press you against the cage, chase you around, and just gonna tire you out, and,
Yeah,
like
but this is like the Dricus du Plessis mindset of championship fighting, right? This isn't the GSP Anderson Silva where it's like I'm gonna control this. I'm gonna make sure that I spend the least amount of energy while making sure that my opponent spends the maximum amount of energy, and I'm gonna break them down methodically until a finish comes. Dricus, Marab, and Pantoja all fight like I'm gonna go out there and it doesn't matter if I get exhausted in 2 minutes, my opponent's gonna break before me. And that's
mhm.
not a strat. Like imagine Sun Tzu didn't say, when in battle, run out there like a batshit insane person until you're exhausted. Like that's not what Sun Tzu said, right? Machiavelli didn't say, run at your foes, screaming bloody murder until they fall down. Like that's not smart methodical warfare thinking. And that's not what these guys do. Unlike GSP, unlike Islam Makhachev, unlike Ilya Taporia, right? Like this is Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, like great champions. That's not what they did. And Pantoja, Dricus du Plessis, and Marab do that. They just go, I'm just going to go out there and go as hard as I can until my opponent falls down,
But
regardless of the damage I take.
isn't that also more impressive to some extent? Because it's like, you know exactly what's gonna happen, and yet no one has been able to answer it, and they know that, like, "Hey, this is, like, all I got, and if someone answers this, I'm, like, kinda fucked." Like, but this is all I'm putting literally all of my eggs in one basket here.
Yeah,
There's no backup plan.
that's impressive. Like watching a dude at the gym do like fucking bench press till he shits his pants, and you're like, wow, very cool. You bench press, you know, 125 reps, and then you shit your pants and died. But like, I'm not real. Like, I'd prefer you to not do that. Right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like I guess we can all be impressed by David Goggins running an insane amount, or you can be like, hey man, like, did you need to run that much? Like, I actually think there's probably a scientific way to like improve your cardio better than that, right? It is cool you did that. I'm impressed, but like that, it seems almost like a vanity metric or like a,
Hmm.
and that's how they fight, and that's cool. But like, I don't know, dude. Imagine if Marab Dvalishvili, with his engine and his fight ethic, had the brain of GSP, right? Or Pantoja had that, or Dricus du Plessis, right? Like, they'd probably be better fighters, and it'd be more interesting to watch them fight, right? They just are kind of like athletic freaks, and so you're like, that's cool, but like, I don't know if it's more impressive. I'm not more impressed by it. I'm
Hmm.
impressed. I am astounded by their ability and the things they're able to accomplish. But if you're asking me, like, what's more impressive, like the fight intelligence plus athletic ability of John Jones, or just the raw athletic ability of Marab, I'm like, well, that's crazy that his genetics did that. But like, could he add 3 ounces of IQ to this equation? Like, probably.
Hmm.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not trying to bash on them because I love Pantoja, Drix Duplessis, infinitely fascinating. I love Marab. It's just like, I don't know. The thing about being like, isn't it more impressive that an absolute donkey brained fool with insane athleticism can win the title? It's like, yeah, it's impressive, but like, wouldn't it be cooler if the insane athleticism was paired with not a donkey brained fool? Like, that'd be better.
I
Uh,
think I think for me,
yeah.
it's just like, this is an example of, like, taking all of your stats and putting it in one area to see where it goes. For Rob, it's like his insane cardio and pressure he can put on.
Yeah.
If he had, like, leveled that out into, like, more, like, cerebral tactical, engagements, and yeah, you might see some more diverse skill sets, but, like, at the same time, he has basically been able to do he's been able to impose his game on everyone,
Yeah, yeah.
regardless of like what they have brought to him, which to me is actually very impressive in that he has been able to do the same thing to a diverse set of fighters who all have different strengths, all have different skill sets, and no one has been able to really have an answer. Umar did a little bit, because he kind of like was able to match some of that wrestling ability, but he wasn't able to match that cardio. And you even pointed out, like at the end, Marab looked fine. He was like, I'm ready to go again. And Umar was like bent over, gasping for air,
Yeah.
So like that to me is still very impressive. It's impressive in a different facet. Like I'm with you. I'm all about skilled fighters. I'm all about taking, a very skilled, methodical, cerebral approach to things. But I do like to see someone who's just able to like basically say, hey, I have this strength and skill set. None of you have been able to answer it. None of you have provided a solution, and good luck trying to find one because it's like no one's done it yet.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is impressive, right? It is
Yeah.
impressive, but it's
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
impressive to me in the way of like, you ever go to one of those state fairs in the Midwest in Iowa, you see the like 2,000-pound hog, and you're like, holy fuck, look at the size of this fella, right? And you're like, it is impressive that a pig got that big. But I'm like, there's a level of impressiveness about a pig getting so big, right? Where you go like, all right, I get it. Cool. It's a big pig, right? Like that's kind of how I feel about Marap. I'm like, damn, it's impressive your cardio is that way and you have the mental fortitude to do that. But like, hey man, could you learn how to throw a punch correctly for 3 seconds, please? Right? Like, it's this weird thing of like I we all should be infinitely impressed by what Mike Tyson did. But this thing about like being like, well, isn't it impressive that he did this? Like, it is impressive he did those things. But like, wouldn't it have been better if he like wasn't fucked up in the head and made all like the 9,000 mistakes he made in his life? Wouldn't it have been more impressive if he didn't do those things? Like, it is
Mhm.
impressive, but like, let's not discount like that doesn't mean you can't be more impressive or that we can't be impressed for different reasons, right? Like I can be more
Sure,
impressed
sure.
by a heavyweight that isn't gifted in the way Mike Tyson is. Yeah. Not saying that we have to all be impressed by like Volkov or fucking Marcin Tybura. I'm just saying, like, there's a reason I like GSP and Mighty Mouse because like they have a level of intelligence matched with their physical gifts that
Mhm.
I go, oh wow. Not only did you marry something that is like impressive, much like a large pumpkin at a state fair, but also, wow, it's really cool that you thought about this shit. As opposed to just being like, I'm a genetic freak. What do you think about that shit? Right? Like one is the Incredible Hulk, one's Captain America. The Incredible Hulk just runs around and rips jeans and punches things. Captain America thinks about shit and has to like, I don't know, come to some decision about his moralistic standing in the world, despite how fascist that is in this new landscape. But like, right? So like, I find Pantoja, I find Marab, I find Drickus all kind of in the same camp for me of
Okay.
like ultra athlete kind of donkey brain fools,
Okay.
which
Okay,
is
that's fair.
impressive and cool, but not as cool as if I could have ultra athlete and non donkey brain fools.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
There's only 3 champions that you haven't mentioned yet in the men's divisions.
Mm.
Jack Della Maddalena,
Hmm.
Magomed Ankalaev, and Tom Aspinall. Where do you place
Well,
those 3
and
then?
Ilya Taporia.
Oh, you kind of mentioned Ilya Topuria, where that he kind of neutralizes.
Yeah, he's not a donkey brain man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think Jack Della Maddalena. I mean, the thing is, Jack Della Maddalena is so young. He's younger than Ilya Taporia, which is
Yeah, there's
crazy
what
because
is he
he
like?
looks like he's 50. Like that motherfucker looks old. I'm sorry, Jackie Flatnose. Like you look old, man. I'm sure you're fucking slanging dang everywhere around Australia, but like, goddamn, you look old.
Yeah, dude, he's
Um,
28 too. Shit.
yeah, I think younger than Ilya. Yeah. Uh, No, he's great. I mean, he neutralized a ton of what Bilal Muhammad had success at. So he both neutralizes and imposes his game. So phenomenal. We love that.
Mhm.
Um, so him and Ilya are both neutralizers and imposers. We've already talked about Dricus Duplessis, who's donkey brained, just imposing, very little neutralizing. Magomed Ankalaev is this weird thing where I feel like he just neutralizes and does nothing else.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he just is like, I'm gonna negate your game, and you're like, cool. So you can do what? And then he's like, What do you mean? He's like, well, so you can do what? He's like, well, whatever, nothing. I've neutralized it, so I win. So I don't know. Magomed Ankalaev, the most boring champion in the UFC right now. Like, who cares? And like, ever since he bet Alex Pereira, have we heard anything about him? Has there been any
No,
news or movement in this division at all?
no, we haven't.
It's weird, right? It feels like
Yeah,
UFC was just like, ah, fuck, we didn't really want him to win.
yeah, we have heard nothing from the light heavyweight division, like
Yeah.
at all.
And no like angry tweets by Uncle Live about like, oh man, I want to fight next or whatever. Like, which this is the time when you have the championship belt. This is when you get the most amount of money you can get. And he doesn't seem interested in fighting at all. So like, yeah, super boring. Who cares? He just is a neutralizer. In a really, I mean, kind of like John Fitch. Like, I'm just gonna
Ah,
neutralize you and win. And it's like, that's not exciting. And then we come to Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is not a neutralizer. He is entirely an imposer. He
mhm.
is in the Dricus Duplessis, Merab Dvalishvili, Pantoja bent of just like, I'm significantly more athletic than you. Here's my A game. I hope it works. And every time it has worked so far.
Yeah,
So, yeah. Uh, so yeah, we're in this weird era of kind of I mean, we're in the Dricus Duplessis era, is really what it is. Where we have a lot of Dricus champions, where it's just ultra athletic goons going out there and beating the piss out of people. Um, and that's just what it is, man. Like, yeah. Because,
I,
like, right, does Tom Aspinall take something away from you? I don't know. He's never fought past the fucking second round.
he's
So,
never been challenged in that way. No one has been able to like show him a game plan where he's like, "Ooh, I might have to adapt to this." So it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah, and
I
he's
don't fucking
heavyweight,
know.
so I assume he won't adjust well, because heavyweights are notorious for not adjusting ever in fights. I mean, that's what made Andrei Arlovsky able to be a heavyweight into his 40s, was he was just able to make slight adjustments in a fight when the game plan wasn't working, and heavyweights would go, "Holy shit, what's this?" You know, like that's duh, to be a heavyweight, man. God, I would kill to be a heavyweight. Good lord. Dude, if you know a 1-2, a low kick, and then like what, a single leg, you're in the top 5 easily. 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 It's it's actually insane. It's fucking nuts. But I guess if you're that big, you should be playing a team sport making significantly more money. But
Yeah.
but I guess if that doesn't work out, you could be just learn a 1-2, a low kick. Dude, hell, even learn like a step up inside low kick, right? Kick the inside of the thigh. Holy shit, you're gonna be a wizard. It's crazy. Anyway, what are the questions? Topics of discussion.
Well, someone pointed this out to me, and I didn't realize this until like late last week or something. But for the first time in the UFC history, in the men's divisions, there
Mm,
is no American champion.
yeah, yeah. There's only Kayla Harrison is the only champion across all divisions
That
at the
is
moment.
American. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who's gonna fight on the White House lawn, Colin? Who are we gonna
Fuck
get? We got
that
no
shit.
fucking Americans. So who's gonna fight for the
Good.
title?
Fuck that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's really,
I,
I mean,
ma- maybe I misspoke. I misspoke. We've got our boy Max, who is the BMF champion. So
uh he's American, but here, look, I'm gonna say it. Not that Hawaii is exempt from America, but I think Hawaii, their voting record would show that they probably are not in favor of the current government of America. Hawaii, if you want to break away, I 100% support you. Like, you should be an autonomous thing. Join Canada. Like,
join
just
Canada.
yeah, be something different. Because it's clear you don't want to be American. That's okay. Yeah, no, there is no. Well, and this is here. I'm gonna posit 2 scenarios. You tell me which is more likely, or which
Okay.
sounds closer to the truth for you. So,
All right. All right. All right.
no American champions. Dana White has announced that TKO is going to do twice as many Dana White Contender Series fights next year
Ugh,
and moving forward
God.
as possible. So here's the thing: it's
Ugh.
either A, MMA run by TKO, basically. TKO's decided we're going to run this thing into the ground instantly. We're going to trade off all short-term gains for long-term profits, right? We're going to get rid of long-term ability to make this sport good.
Okay,
Build
okay,
no
okay.
stars. We're only going to go after short-term profits in the next 2 to 5 years. We're just going to try to run this thing as hard as it can until the engine gives out. Or TKO, one of the most powerful media conglomerates at the moment, has noticed that MMA fights, MMA viewership, and combat sports viewership over the past 5 years has steadily declined since 2020. And they've recognized a trend, maybe not published to the public, that I think I said this last time, like X Games or professional bull riding, like MMA, despite having a very long lifespan compared to these kind of niche sports, actually is more closely related to those niche sports than the stick and ball sports that we thought. And that there actually isn't a long lifespan on this. And so they are trying to get as much money out of it as possible. And that is why TKO is also trying to get into boxing, professional grappling, slap fighting, any other combat sport available, because they have actually seen MMA actually doesn't have staying power in the way that we thought it would when it was 2015 to 2020, that 5-year period between Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, and COVID. Um, that actually was a blip. That was much more of a glitch rather than a feature of the system.
Okay,
Which one
okay.
feels more accurate to you?
Honestly, they kind of seem similar to me. Like in that they're both okay. So on the one hand, then the first one you're saying they are basically just trying to get as much as they can right now while the
Yeah,
good is
so
still good,
one is
knowing that it's just going to end eventually.
yeah, MMA could last for a long time. MMA could be a maybe not an A tier mainstream sport, but a B tier mainstream sport for as many years as the UFC runs it properly. But they're choosing not to run it properly. Uh, right, and that's what's leading to the downfall of MMA. Or it is they recognize that this is a D tier sport that they've elevated to B tier, and they're just trying to cash grab as fast as they can before it falls back down to the D tier. Right? This is professional poker. Right? Remember when the World Series of
Yeah, yeah,
Poker,
yeah.
in 2008 to 10, was really popular? Like the World Series of Poker was this huge thing, and now I mean, you can find it, but it's on the Ocho. It's never actually on main ESPN, right? It's this bubble that's about to pop, and that MMA
Right.
was actually a larger bubble that took longer to pop. But the reason we're getting more Dana White Contender Series isn't necessarily because the UFC is doing something bad. It's because they've already recognized the warning signs that the bubble is popping, and so they're
Mm,
trying to get as much money out of it before the bubble is fully gone. Does
mm,
that make
mm.
sense? Does the
Yeah.
distinction make sense?
Yes. Yes. It does definitely make sense. I think it could really go either way. I feel like it's done entirely with how they manage this next generation of fighters.
Mhm.
The cynical side of me does see yeah, doing all this extra Dana White Contender Series and throwing all these shitty cards together with no real thought is kind of yeah, it is just a cash grab and trying to get as much as they can before they pivot outwards. And
Mhm.
then this sport does fall to the wayside. And I think you using the World Series of Poker as an analogy is a great example of what could potentially happen. You know, on the other
Yeah.
hand, the if I was to think optimistically to try to go this other direction, maybe the UFC or whatever they're trying to you know bring in and basically create a better developmental league. It's basically where it is okay, you have stages to get to the big show. We're going to increase the amount of Dana White's Contender Series, meaning this is going to be your developmental league. This is going to be your college league, basically. And you have to prove yourself here before you can move your way elsewhere into the big
Uh,
show. Now, if they just do what they've been doing, just hey, we have all these shit fights going on, and half of you guys are going to get, really shitty contracts, then yeah, it's just going to flood, the divisions with really subpar fighters, and yeah, I that's not going to do anything to help it out either. And I think something needs to be done within the actual either implementation of new fighters or way that championships are done, or way the rankings are done, because it is so random. It is so just like whatever. Like, I mean, you even mentioned the other day of how they refused to strip John Jones for like 2 years, but didn't hesitate at all to strip Francis Ngannou after 2.5 months.
Yeah.
It's like it's just totally random right now, and unless they do something to rectify that, and I do think like eventually something's gonna happen in the sport where like something bad is gonna happen. Like we've already had a few close calls this year with like people weight cutting and dropping out of fights last minute because of health concerns. Like unless something is done to help mitigate that or like safeguard the fighter, something is going to go the other way where someone is going to get really hurt or heaven forbid someone like dies or something like that. And that is going to create a huge new thing that the sport may or may not be able to overcome.
Yeah,
That
I
got dark
like
real quick.
yeah, I mean, I just like this idea of it being a feeder league, like I don't know if I believe that. Like
Again, that was the optimistic view for myself
yeah,
here.
because I was gonna say, like, it feels like it's much more like we just need content slop. It doesn't feel like a feed. I guess well, I guess there are many questions, but the first one, let's get to this. Let's say the UFC started running this organization the way the fans want. We cut back on the number of cards. We really make it. We try to build stars again. We do less Dana White Contender Series fights. From everything that we've seen, the UFC's pay-per-views have been going down like quite dramatically, and viewership is going down quite dramatically since 2020. Do you think that would save it, or are we just on an inexorable decline towards less and less viewers, less and less interest by the mainstream audience?
Well, a lot of sports are starting to see that as well.
Hmm.
There's a lot of decline in just general viewership for a lot of sports, and different people point to different things of like basketball. It's like there are too many games, or like um it's just like the way the sport has gone. Like no one is that interested until the like last half or anything like that. And there's a lot of different explanations for that, and I don't really know where MMA fits into all of that, because it's such a niche sport that like the average person won't just flip to it and be like, oh yeah, I'll have this on the background. I'll watch this.
Hmm.
Whereas like you can have baseball, basketball, hockey, football. It's nothing's like it doesn't like interfere with your day that much. Plus, there's also this weird like pay-per-view model where like every card or every other card needs to be bought separately. It's not just
Hmm.
you get access to it. Which is why like that Netflix deal would have been like pretty big because you could have had it be more streaming. You could have had it be more accessible to so many more people.
Hmm. Well, I will be interested to see, and we'll talk about this coming up on Friday, the Serrano Taylor number 3 card,
Mhm.
which is on Netflix, which is like a big thing because it's riding off the back of last year, the Jake Paul Mike Tyson one. Like, are we gonna see even half the number of viewership for this fight card? I'll be
No,
interested to see. But
I'll
yeah,
tell you
it's
right
kind
now,
of
no.
yeah, like I don't know. We lived through this. It felt like every year MMA got slightly bigger. It went from like really barely anyone watching it to like bigger and bigger and bigger. And now I'm really feeling this like big decline. And I wonder if the execs, I can't tell if it's them hastening the decline. Like, is it something where the executives of this sport are trying to squeeze as much juice out of it as quickly as possible, which speeds the decline of the sport, or they recognize, hey man, this thing is gone in 5 years, regardless of what we do. We can try to keep it hanging on for 5 years and maybe we get an extra year or two out of it, but in the end, it's going to go away. And so
Mhm.
let's just squeeze it as tightly as we can, wring as much juice out of this as possible over the next 5 years. Like, I can't tell what that is. Is it malicious poor stewardship of the sport, or is it recognizing, hey, the sport has peaked and it's really going to decline overall? So now our poor stewardship is only to serve getting as much out of it until that like total cliff edge fall off
Mhm.
occurs. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have an answer for that actually. I can see it either way happening, which
Yeah.
is like not a good thing at all, which I
Yeah.
can equally see like, oh, it was just really piss poor management, or it's like a deliberate action to sabotage, something that
Yeah.
people truly love and actually people who like depend on for their livelihood.
Yeah, a shitload of people. Well, and speaking of that, let's all bring it to one championship. One championship over the past 9 years has reported $530 million in losses. Of the initial
Jesus.
950 million raised by venture capitalist funds, supposedly in 2025 there are only $26 million left. It is predicted by many financial analysts that one championship, unless they get another round of funding, which the Abu Dhabi government, who had given them a bunch of money, had said, we're not doing that shit. And a bunch of other venture capitalists in Singapore said, no, we are unhappy with our returns because basically there has been zero returns that one championship has produced. They will be out of money by the end of this year, and one championship will be no more.
Jeez.
Which means there are basically only two MMA organizations really operating, which is PFL and the UFC. And the PFL is in a pretty bleak spot as well.
Yeah.
That means that like that'd be like saying the NFL is the only there's NFL and there's like the AFC and there's no other college football, there's no other high school football. It's
Mhm.
just right this one conference of college and then NFL. Like that really bankrupts the sport. I don't know, man. Did we start this podcast right in the absolute drop off decline of MMA? Because it kind of feels like it, man.
It might be. It might be.
Yeah. Sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and boxing's kind of going through its own thing as well with Turkey Al Sheikh and Riyadh season. It's a weird time. It's like both the best of times and the worst of times to be a combat fight fan. Um,
Well, boxing has had its many ups and downs too. You've had,
yeah,
and people will say like it comes in waves, like, you know, I would say in the early 2000s, like boxing was kind of on the decline, and then it picked back up when you had some rising stars and some exciting fights, and it kind of
yeah.
peaked there and it's kind of declined again. It's now peaking back up with Turkey Al Sheikh again. So it'll have its ups and downs. And
Well,
since MMA is so much younger,
yeah. I
maybe it's
I
just
think
figuring that out too.
maybe. I think with boxing, like having, I think it's the same thing with UFC. I think both of their issues, I think, are kind of indicative of one another, which is you have a singular, ultra rich, powerful organization controlling where the fights take place and who gets to partake in them, and
Mm.
that ends up not allowing for a lot of organic or natural growth in specific geos, right? Like we're missing out on Tom Aspinall fighting in the UK a ton. We have no more like boxing events amongst American boxers in America. They're
Yeah.
all in Saudi Arabia,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
We lose the natural groundswell and growth and kind of grassroots fandom that comes from both of these sports because they've turned so corporate and turned so like just let's get the most amount of money out of this event rather than hey, let's take a slight hit on this event to build long term.
Hmm.
Um, it's a bummer, man. It's a
Yeah.
bummer. Yeah. And then on top of that, we've got fucking John Jones and Conor McGregor calling to fight on the White House lawn. We have
God.
Julio Cesar Chavez being arrested by ICE, even though he was let into the country
Yeah.
7 days before. So what the fuck's going on there? Either you had the warrant or you didn't, or you had the warrant and you let him in anyway. All of it feels very shady. All
Oh
of it
yeah.
feels very bad.
Yeah. Feels bad,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, concerns, questions, smartest remarks?
Nah, this is a pretty bleak. It started off kind of like, what's gonna happen today? It turned out very bleak, like
It,
many of our episodes as of
it's
late. So
it's been a bleak. Well, it's been a really bleak week and or a bleak month. I mean, the big beautiful bill passed. It's been a bleak. Listen, motherfucker. 2025 has been a bleak year.
yeah,
Let's not sugarcoat it. This is about
no,
to
no,
be.
no.
Shit's about to get rough for people. But here's the nice thing. On Friday, what do we have? On Netflix. Oh my god, it's free? Well, you gotta subscribe to Netflix, but it's free. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano 2, one of the best boxing matches of last year. Holy shit. Like, this might be the second best fight next to Brandon Royval and Joshua Van this year.
Mm.
And it's on Netflix. It's gonna start at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Oh my god. Not the
Co-
card, the main event. Like, beautiful. That's exciting.
yeah,
So we'll talk about that on Friday.
yeah,
Because yeah, this was a bummer. But
yeah.
and then after that we have Dustin Poirier. Now, Colin, you have to remind me, have we done a Dustin Poirier retrospective?
Have we?
Have we done a Max Holloway?
We've
We
not
did a
done a
Jose
Max
Aldo.
Holloway. We did Jose Aldo. We've done an Anderson Silva.
We might have done a Dustin Poirier when he
I
fought.
think we've done it. We have
Islam.
done Dustin Poirier. Yeah. We've had this
Damn.
conversation multiple times.
All right. Well, we'll have to look back. We won't do a full retrospective, but we'll do kind of a small look back because that card actually kind of sucks. But we will do kind of a look back on both of their careers because it could be something. We know Dustin is definitely going to retire, and it could be Max Holloway also retires. So we should kind of look back on both of their careers.
Mhm.
Two of our favorites,
Yeah.
two of the good guys. We'll do that next week. We will not talk about Derek Lewis's fight or any other fight on this fight card
Dude,
because
I don't
here's what's
even know
happening.
what's on that fucking card.
I know. Here's the thing. It's a traveling card too. It's not even Apex card. And I'm looking at it. And I'm like, oh, this is Apex slop. The UFC is now just exporting Apex slop to cities. They're going, oh yeah, you guys want a UFC card? Take this Apex card. And UFC or USA cities are going, yes, 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 yum, yum, yum. Give it to me, daddy. And I'm like, this is disgusting. This is horrible. How dare you accept these fights cards?
Ugh.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor 3, because that's the most interesting fight. Maybe this month? Well, no, because we had. Well, no, we didn't have Taporia, and yeah,
No, that
maybe
was the
this
end.
month. Yeah.
What
So
about Max and Justin?
yeah, we've seen that twice before, though. Well, I guess we've seen Taylor and Serrano twice
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
So
it's the same thing. Come
it's the
on.
month of trilogies, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll be interested to hear who you're picking for Poirier Holloway, because
Oh yeah, God.
Poirier has already won twice, handedly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God. Did you hear Dustin Poirier's advice to young fighters, professional fighting?
No, what?
Go to college, baby. Go to
Don't
college.
fight, go to college?
Don't fight, go to college. But you know what? I don't even know what to tell young people in this day and age because I'm like, that sounds like a good idea. And I'm also like, I don't actually know if going to college is important anymore.
Nah, man, college is a fucking scam.
Yeah, I don't even know if you should do it. Well, I know it's a scam, but it's like, is it a scam you have to buy into, right? Like, is it something where, like, if you don't have a college degree on your resume, you're not going to get in? But I'm also like, I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yeah.
I think you can just claim to be an influencer and know how to, like, run $1 million business and post a bunch of shit on Facebook and LinkedIn, and people will believe you. We're not the right people to be asking about this. We're too old for this shit. Yeah. All right. Well, wow. What a weird episode. This has been 2 Fight Fans podcast.
Yes.
I'm on 5 Fans Stewart.
I'm the other Colin.
Go to college. Don't go to college. I don't know. Just don't become a professional fighter. Join TikTok. Join OnlyFans. That's
my
the one
God.
true way to make money. Listen, if I could join it, I would, but I can't. So there you are. All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.